Society, and we're opening another tape of World War II memories called Plainville Remembers World War II. Hope you'll enjoy them. Our first guest today on our new tape is John Santacroce, and John is one of our Plainville POWs. John has been very kind to come in today, and I want you to notice he's got his original uniform on. Tells me he keeps it in mothballs. And John, start out by telling us about your cap.
Well, I belong to the XPOW and XPOW, and I belong to the Veterans of Foreign War,
and that's the Plainville,
yeah,
VFW.
Right. And I went in the Army in 1942, and I got my basic training in South Carolina, and I spent about 13 weeks there. From there, I went to North Africa. I saw some action in North Africa.
Now this is in the Army, in the infantry, right?
Infantry.
And were you with any other Plainville boys?
There was two other prisoners. I don't know their name offhand. But getting back to that, from Africa, I went to Italy, and I landed in Anzio Beachhead. I saw a lot of action there. From there, I was wounded in Anzio Beachhead, and from there I went into the hospital. From the hospital,
now where was the hospital, John?
The hospital was in Naples. And from there, I had a pass, and I went to visit all my relatives. And
these are family folks that were in Italy.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I see my two grandmothers and my two grandfathers and all my cousins there. From there, I got a pass to. From there, I went to. I made a vision of southern France, and I got wounded again there. I went back in the hospital again. From there, in the hospital, I went to England, and I met my cousin Sal there in the Air Corps.
Now you have pictures of Sal here.
Yeah.
Why don't you just hold that up, and Dee can bring the camera in. There you are sitting in Sal's plane. Is that you sitting in the plane?
Right.
Just point with your other hand so that people can pick it up.
Right here.
Okay. And then down lower, you're in the plane.
Yeah, down here.
Okay.
I'm in the plane here.
So this is Cousin Sal's plane in England.
In
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And when I was when I got captured at the Black Forest, I got captured by the SS troops, and we walked about maybe 6-7 miles to the Army camp, and they gave us.
Now, what town was this near? What?
The town was in Frankfurt, Germany.
Which is a major city.
Right. And there, we went to the prison camps, and they gave us bread and they gave us soup with the potato peeling soup, and we slept in the Army barracks, and there was no heat in it, no no electricity. In the outhouse, the tars were outside, and I spent 3.5 months in a German prison camp.
Now, while you were in the German prison camp, were you used as laborer? Were you working on something?
Oh yes, we had to dig foxholes and dig trenches and cut down wood.
So it was manual labor. You were cutting firewood and so forth.
And every day that it took a lot of the dead bodies out of our army camp, and it was something to be a prisoner of war. You had to be a hero. I mean, it's something that you would never believe it.
Now these bodies that they were taking out were our boys, right?
Yeah, and I had my same clothes on for 3.5 months, and we didn't shave, and I had lice all over my body. I lost about 60 pounds, and it was something out of this world to be a prisoner.
While you were there, were there any attempted escapes?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
There was 2 guys that tried to escape, and then they got shot.
Mm-hmm. But you were in an enclosed area with barbed wire and so forth.
Right.
And they would just take the work details into the woods to cut the trees and so forth and bring it back.
Right.
That was the situation. Mm. They weren't taking you out, like, for weeks at a time into the countryside.
Oh, no.
No, you were in an enclosed area. Okay.
And the camp that I was in, we had Italian soldiers, British and Canadian, Canadian soldiers.
Was there a name to this camp that you know of?
I got the, I forgot the name of it, but it was a big army camp.
But it was near Franklin.
And the reason why I stutter so much because on account of the army, you know.
Well, you had some bad experiences.
Yeah.
You were wounded twice, right?
The wounded twice, and I got the Purple Heart, 2 Purple Hearts, the Bronze Star. I got the Combat Infantry Badge, the POW Medal, and the Good Combat Badge. And I don't know what to say, but I tell you, I'm lucky to be lucky
To get back.
Yeah. To be alive.
Have you kept, John, have you kept track of any of the guys you were in the service with?
I have, yes. There's one fellow that was with me, his name is Richard Adams, and he lives in Dover.
Now, was he in the prisoner of war camp? Or,
Yes.
Yeah, he was with you.
Yeah.
Now, does your ex-prisoner of war group have get-togethers?
Oh, yes,
meetings?
yeah.
And do you ever see him?
Oh no, he lives in Delaware.
Yeah, so he doesn't get to the area meetings you go to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but you do keep in touch with him.
Oh
That's
yeah,
great. That's great.
I send Christmas cards every year.
Now, John, you're going to be loaning us a good deal of your equipment or a good deal of your mementos for our big exhibit this summer. And we're very grateful for that. We're going to have your uniform on exhibit.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that. Is there anything you'd like to add to your tape? When did you get out, John?
I got out in October of 1945.
Okay, so when you came out, tell us about being liberated from the POW camp.
Oh, well, and let's see, January the 20th, we got liberated by the British.
The British got you out.
And the tanks, the army tanks came in, and they broke the fence, and we all jumped over the fence, and they had food, and they gave us.
I bet you could have hugged them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Happy day.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for the International Red Cross, we would never have survived.
Because potato soup doesn't have much nourishment, does it?
God.
So then, from Frankfurt, you were shipped where to an area to get better in?
Well, yeah. From Frankfurt, we boarded an army plane, and we went to England. And from England, I spent 2 weeks in England. And I see the changing of the guards
At the castle.
at the castle. And I've been to Hyde Park, and I had a good time in England. I mean,
and then from England, it was home.
Yeah.
Home to some good cooking and getting better and put the weight back on. Yeah. And now we see you every Memorial Day out in front, very proud to be in front of the parade. And that's great, John. If you had to tell me one thing that stands out in your mind the most, looking back at your experience, what would stand out in your mind the most, John?
Coming back home again.
Coming back home, the happy time. That's
time.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, we thank you very much for being with us. That was an extraordinary story.
Well, just one more thing. I marched in Plainville, like I told you before.
Yes.
I marched in Plainville, up in Bristol, and New Haven, and Hartford. And
not all on the same day.
Oh, no.
Oh, but different times. Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, I see you every Memorial Day because I'm usually at the parade. Too.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. And thank you so much, John. That's super. Thank you.
Okay.
Our next guest today is Ed R. Moreau. And Ed is a member of the U.S. Marines, was a member of the U.S. Marines. We're very happy to welcome you, Ed, and please tell us about your adventures.
Well, I joined the Marines when I was 17, and I joined in Springfield, Connecticut. I mean Springfield,
Mass.
Mass. And then I left for Parris Island. And when I got to Parris Island, we had 8 weeks of basic training. And from there, we went to Tent City. That's North Carolina. And from there, I was there 2 months. And I went to Hawaii, which I was supposed to stay in Hawaii for a few months. And they had a lot of tragedies in the South Pacific. So they stuck me aboard an LST and said I was a machine gunner. And
you hadn't had any
I
training
never
in
saw a machine gun in my life.
Oh my!
And here we were going to Saipan, which at the time we never knew. And we got to Saipan. It was 5 days after D-Day, so we landed on Saipan. And after landing on Saipan, I seeing bodies and horrible. It was very horrible, and I could
Because
feel
you were
myself.
there how many days after the invasion?
5 days
So
after.
this was bad at that
Really
time.
bad.
Yeah.
They had bodies all
Broken
over,
equipment.
and it was unbelievable. And as a young boy, you could not believe what you were seeing. It was like everything left your body. You were completely. And the sergeant came along and patted me on the back, and he said to me, he says, "Just be thankful it isn't you." And it was the biggest uplift in the whole life of the Marine Corps. I changed my attitude from that day on. From there, from Saipan, I was in.
Oh, before you go on, Ed, aren't these photographs from Saipan of your?
Yeah.
Okay, this is your machine gun.
Yes, I was in a machine gun squad of the on Saipan. I was with the 4th Marine, but shipped over to the 2nd Marine because the 4th Marine were going home, and I just arrived here, so they weren't going to send me home. They were going to keep me over there. So we went to Saipan, and I went to Tinian from Saipan, and then came back to Saipan.
Okay.
After the invasion of Tinian was made, we come back to Saipan.
So this would be 3 of your buddies.
These are my friends when we were on Saipan, and they're in front of our tent that we lived in.
How many men to a tent? There
was 8 of us to a tent.
And this would be a warm climate?
Yeah,
Tropical.
It was warm climate all the time, yeah. It was...
Now you have another photograph also from Saipan there, I believe.
Yeah, this here photograph is a one of all of us, our whole company. This is K Company.
Okay.
And every one of these represents a squad. There's 4 squads to a company.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is one of
this is one of the tents in the background in which you live.
Background, yeah.
And you can almost see the jungle in the background.
In the background.
Yeah. A lot of foliage.
And while we were there, it was primary training to move on to your next invasion.
Okay, so while you were here on Saipan, you were actually training them.
Training other people.
A little machine gun training at this point,
machine
I hope?
gun, yeah. Machine gun training.
Okay.
And from there, I went to Okinawa, which was April 1st, April Fool's Day, also Easter Sunday. And we were out before landing, we were on our LST. Our LST got hit. There were suicide planes, and it was really a horrible Sunday anyhow.
How many men were on that LST with you? I mean, a lot of men, or?
Oh yes, on LST there was 350 men.
Oh, that many?
Yeah,
oh,
350 men on the LST.
And it was it sunk or just wounded?
It just wounded.
Yeah.
They had an airplane motor hit the water, and it came on our deck and caught our LST
So
afire.
this airplane motor was from a plane that had been hit in the sky?
Japanese.
Oh my, it was debris.
There were suicide
falling.
planes.
Yeah.
There were suicide planes. Yeah. And so we had to go back to Saipan because we had none of our equipment. All our equipment was lost and everything else. So we went back to Saipan. And from Saipan, the war ended.
So you never got into Okinawa?
Never got into Okinawa. We just got there, and we were hit badly without going into. So we were all sent back to Saipan. After Saipan, we were reorganizing, and the war ended on August the 10th. And so at that time, I have a choice. I had enough points to come home or to go on to Saipan, to Japan. So I decided I would go to Japan because I know I would never be able to see Japan.
Right.
So they sent us into Japan. And when we first landed, we landed on Weasels. And we went in. Weasel is like a Jeep with tracks.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you go on the sand and...
It goes on the sand and the water, and it's amphibious, but it's small. It's not very big. Only sits 4 people, like a Jeep.
Weasels.
Weasel. And we were driving down the roads, and you could see everyone disappearing, running. You could see them.
They were afraid of you.
They were afraid of us, very afraid of us.
You and I talked a little about the propaganda that probably preceded the American invasion in Japan. And I'm sure the poor citizenry was well versed in how horrible you guys were going to be.
Yes, we were really mean and
going to probably eat the children alive.
There isn't a nice guy on.
So they were running in terror.
In terror, in terror. So then we got to a point where they organized us into different groups. And I was in one of the groups that organized to go to the schools and to the towns and let them know that the war was over.
So you're going right into the classrooms.
Right into the classrooms, and we're going to let these people know the war was over. We're going to take their wooden rifles and burn them, and they were going back into classrooms, and then go into town and talk to the people that they were not making ships, airplanes, guns. The war was over, and they were to return to the original life.
Farmers or whatever.
Farmers or whatever.
Ed, who was it easier to talk to? Was it the school children? Could you reach them better through your interpreter, or the adult people?
The adult people. The children are very, very scared of it.
They were just too scared.
They were like, if you would move your arms like you were going to hit them. And, but after a while, we treated them nice. We gave them candy and things like that. They got to really get to like us and find out that we weren't as mean as everyone said we were. And I think it was the most enjoyable part of being in service was being in Japan with these people and finding out they were like us. They were no different than we are.
Did you get to see some of the grand sights in Japan while you were there?
No, we didn't have enough time for it.
They kept you busy.
I was there about 6 months, because that's all I signed up for, 6 months to be over there. And then we turned around and came home after that we went through the coastline. We were along the coastline where they're building submarines and things like that.
So it would have been an industrialized area, basically. So you didn't get out into the country to see the rice paddies and so on.
And then when I was on the way back to the States, I was aboard an LST, and just 2 days before landing in California, it was like the light came on that it was so beautiful to see the United States and to think about that you are here, and you wonder when you were there at the time how you made it and some didn't.
Were you injured at all, Ed?
No, we had a lot of close occasions.
Well, I guess especially on that LST.
Yeah.
Looking back over 50 years, which is a long time, what stands out in your mind the most as the thing that maybe moved you the most or stays with you the most in your memories?
Well, I think losing your friends. It's you don't have too much time to get to know a person, because first thing you know, they're with you, and you're moving on another company, and they move you so much that you really don't have enough contact with other soldiers.
So it isn't like a buddy-buddy
It isn't
situation.
like a buddy-buddy relationship. By the time you get to know them, you've been transferred or moved around.
So do you keep in touch with any of the people that you met in the service?
I did at first, and like everything else, you're busy. Right. Everybody's busy, and so they don't. You lose your family, and the majority of the people I was stationed were in California.
I see. So
and,
they were the New England boys with you.
No, New England boys. And it was quite a distance between us, and so
Sure.
money was kind of short, so we just...
So how long, basically how long were you in?
I was in almost 4 years.
Yeah. So you went in as a kid and came out as a young man.
As a young man. I was just turning 21, yeah.
And came to live in good old Plainville, and we're glad that you were with us today especially. That was grand, Ed. Thank you very much for sharing your memories with us.
And we didn't even put the picture
Oh,
up there.
let's do that. Let's do that. Yes. Sorry. Tell us about this picture.
Well, this picture is when I was in Japan, and we were going around to the hotels and the schools.
Again, with your public relations.
Yeah, doing a little public relations work. A picture of myself over here, and the interpreter, and the lieutenant and center, a young lad, and the people that were working the hotels.
This would have been like service people.
Service people, yeah, doing things.
They're
for us,
handsome
everything
people,
else.
and I noticed the ladies that were in their pretty kimono. One lady, especially in the front there,
They
was in a
always
kimono.
dressed up in their kimonos. They always were dressed up for
Well,
some reason or other.
that was the way they dressed.
That's the way they
Yeah,
dressed.
yeah.
And the thing that impressed me was the hotels that were made of paper, petitions. Petitions, or you could put your finger through it.
Yeah,
It was
and
like
I bet
this.
many a GI did.
Yeah. And they used...
Wouldn't they have been terribly flammable?
You would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wood was a very scarce commodity in the islands.
Yeah. And this was right in Japan. This was right in Japan.
The city itself.
And the city itself.
Well, I'm glad you reminded us of the picture. That's nice.
Yeah.
Thanks again. That's really super.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. I think we're going to have to try it.
Okay. All right.
The light is flashing.
Yeah.
It should be okay. It's on record.
All right. Well, let's try it. And
Isn't that got a viewer on it that you can view it?
It's not, as far as I can tell, it's...
well, what makes you think it is not functioning properly? Doesn't sound right?
It doesn't... I don't hear the film rolling. That's what my...
And if the film isn't rolling, we're not shooting.
Right, but yeah, like I said. Yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
5, 6, 7, 8. Our next guest today is Charles Hadfield, who was prominent in our governmental circles and also well known through Hadfield Sports Shop. Charlie has some very exciting adventures to relate to us today, and I'm going to let him do the talking.
My career started in March of 1942 when I was drafted into the United States Army. I went to Fort Jackson for my basic training, and when I completed my basic training, I applied for the aviation cadet program in September of 1942. Being accepted, I came home for a 1 to 90 day furlough. On October 11th, we received a telegram to report back to Fort Jackson. I reported to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, got on a troop train to San Antonio, Texas, with a number of other GIs. When we got to Texas, we went into Aviation Cadet Classification Center, and from there to pre-flight and Kelly Air Force Base. I received my basic training in Waco, Texas, graduated as a second lieutenant July 1943. Went to Walla Walla, Washington for training in the B-17. November of 43, we went across the ocean on the Queen Elizabeth II, landed in Scotland, took the train down to England, and landed in the base outside of Ipswich, England. My first mission was on my birthday, December 5th, 1943. I also flew on Christmas Day in 1943. January 10th, our 13th mission was in Brunswick, Germany. On the way in, we lost an engine, but we were able to make the target, drop our bombs, and then on the way out, we were attacked by fighters. The plane caught on fire. We bailed out. I bailed out and I held my parachute closed and kept counting all the time I was in the snow cloud. When I came out of the snow cloud, I found myself over the Zuider Zee. So pulling on my shroud lines, I was able to land in the reeds. All the time I was coming down, I noticed the people of the Netherlands, that's part of the lowlands. I noticed this woman rolling out on a flatbed boat to pick me up, but I was able to get in on the shore. And I get out of my parachute. The woman motioned to my face that it was bleeding. That's where a shrapnel hit me in the face. They took me into a farmhouse. They started questioning me. When I asked if they were going to take me into the underground, they suggest they would. And I says, well, you better tell the people that are looking in the windows and everything to vacate, because the Germans will know that you got a flyer in your house. So they said a couple of words and everybody just disappeared. Can I drop this now?
Yes, yes. Charlie, how about the rest of your crew?
All right. All got out except the radio operator who died in the ship. He was shot.
And you said planes were attacking you. What kind of planes were those?
German
fighter planes.
109s.
109s. And you were in a B-17.
B-17G,
right?
Okay.
Did you get a shot of his plane while he had it up? Or?
I'm not a real close-up because I thought he was going to talk about it.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little about that crew, a picture, and then we'll let you lay it down?
The back row you see here, from my left, the first fella is the pilot. I'm the second person, the co-pilot. The third person is the navigator. The fourth person is the bombardier.
And these men all have officers' hats on, right?
That's right. That's 4 officers.
And then the rest of the crewmen are...
The rest of the crew are enlisted men. In the bottom row, to my left, is Angelo Gambino. He was the ball turret gunner. The next one is Jim Harness. He's the one that got killed. The next one after him is Graney, the top turret gunner, or the engineer. The next one after him is Tarleton. He was a waist gunner. The next one was Lambert. He was a waist gunner. And the last one was Dilk. He was the tail gunner.
Did your plane have a name?
We weren't flying our own plane.
Okay.
Our own plane was called Short Stuff.
Maybe you should have been flying your own plane that day.
Who knows? But right? Our own plane, we had a lot of trouble with the heating system. And whenever we went over 30,000 feet, it would frost up. Number of times, I was scratching the window, and the bombardier and navigator were telling us if we got too close or too far away from the various...
That's kind of hairy.
It was. But fortunately, flying to the west late in the afternoon, we were able to defrost the windows. But most of the time, we always flew off of my side of the aircraft. So I would motion to the pilot to go forward, go backwards, and so I would, until I took over, and then he rested, and then I would fly the aircraft.
So they sent all the people away that were looking in the windows?
Oh, in Holland, right, in Holland. Yeah, everybody took cover, and then they explained to me that there was going to be a truck back up on the street, and I was to get out and get into the truck, and he was going into this town of Allenholden, and he was going to toot his horn. When I saw a garage door open, I was to jump out of the truck while it was moving and go to the door and go inside. The truck took off, I was inside. I went through the backyard, chicken coops and everything, into an office. Girls are working in the office. They took me upstairs. But this was late in the afternoon by this time. They fed me, gave me pajamas and everything else. I was back in civilian clothes. I was in civilian clothes while I was in the farmhouse. They took my uniform and gave me civilian clothes while I was in the farmhouse. I went to bed. About 2 o'clock in the morning, the lights went on in the room, and I says, oh my God, the Germans are here. But it was my navigator.
Oh.
They brought my navigator in. That was Howard Richardson from Wenatchee, Washington. And Howard came in with wooden shoes and all. I didn't have wooden shoes. I had regular leather shoes, but he came in with wooden shoes.
So these people were obviously equipped to pick you fellows up. Yeah. They had a good system.
They had a very good system. They told us that the next morning we were to leave the house walked down this road, this dirt road, and as a car approached, we were to bum a ride. There'll be two fellas in the car. They'll pick you up, and they'll take you to another part of Holland. So sure enough, we're walking along, and this car came along, and we bummed a ride. And they stopped, and we got into the back seat. They said, if anything happens, if we get stopped, you don't know for nothing, we don't know for nothing. We just picked up a couple of hitchhikers. We didn't have any papers or anything else. So they took us to a province called Friesland. That's up in the near the North Sea. Oh, we thought this was great. Maybe they'll send a submarine to get us out or something like that. Well, after shaking us around in a few houses, my navigator went to a family that owned a lumber yard. I went to a family where the man was a physical education teacher in the local high school, and his wife was a housewife. And whenever anything happened to me while I was there was always a doctor available to come and check me out. Everybody knew I was there, but I guess the Germans didn't.
But these people obviously took a risk.
Oh, they are.
Taking
They
you
certainly
in.
did. They certainly did. And whenever my hostess and host went on a holiday, I would be sent over to where my navigator lived. Now, I lived in a nice goose-down bed. He lived in a partition between the attic and the roof.
Oh, my.
On a mattress, and we had to sleep in there whenever I went over there.
So you were there some time.
Oh, we were there 6 months.
Uh-huh.
So, and other times, when they left, I would go to a Mennonite minister's house and stay with him for a week. My people were always going down there, Amsterdam or something, to visit relatives. See, that's where they were from. So then the invasion came, and that was June 6th. 9:30 in the morning, we turned the radio on. We took it out of hiding, turned it on, and the first words I heard, "This is London, England. This is London, England, calling the people of Europe. The early morning hours of this morning, the Allied Expeditionary Forces land on the Europe continent. Please do not go out to meet them. Stay in your home." Everybody got excited. The woman ran down to school and told her husband the invasion has begun. The next door neighbor, who didn't even know I was there, came and knocked on the door, and I thought it was Mrs. Pepper coming back, and she forgot her key, so I went to the door, and she said, "Mrs. Pepper," nay. Okay. And she left. When my Mrs. Pepper came, I told her about it, so she went next door. The woman says, "I don't know nothing. I didn't see nothing. I don't want to know nothing." It was like a duplex house.
Yeah.
So this was June 6th, and we had visions of leaving and go to meet the troops. So finally on August 6th, we started to move. 3 o'clock in the morning, and in August it's very light in Holland, northern Holland.
Because you're up pretty far north.
That's right. So we started down. They took us to a tram. That's a train line. And we went south on that for a ways, and then got on a train. And all the time we see German soldiers and everything else. Most of the time we had a guide or two who would walk along.
But nobody questioned your
Nobody
credentials
questioned us
or anything?
until we got into Belgium. And the minute we crossed the border through woods and everything else, we got to this train stop. They call it a train stop. And everybody started to whisper, "American flyers." They knew. They could tell.
They could tell you looked different.
And they gave us tickets. We had a guide, and we went into Antwerp. Well, everybody on that train knew that we were American flyers. We met up with a couple of Englishmen, and they were talking and everything else. Well, when we got to Antwerp, my navigator and I were taken to one house. The other two were taken someplace else. And we were in the house 20 minutes, and the Gestapo came in and got us. Well, they took us, and this had a family. That was a family of a husband and wife and a couple of kids, and they took them all to the prison. We went to the prison. And all over the walls you could see holes, and I said to the navigator, "They're going to tape anything you say in here, so just keep quiet." So we kept quiet. Then they separated us. They took us down the street. We had a Wehrmacht guard with a submachine gun, and he was pointing at us and hollering at the civilians, "American gangsters, American gangsters." He was a nutter. Well, they took us to this city prison, and they locked us up in separate rooms, solitary rooms. And the bed bugs started to eat me alive. Oh my God, I woke up and they were biting me all over. And I had some matches, so I'm lighting them at night, killing bed bugs. And you hear somebody, "Dose the light, go to hell." Next morning, this German corporal came in, and I'm sitting on this thing, and he, "Rouse. What do you mean, rouse? Get up. And I said, no. So I said, "Get somebody speak English." So we went out and got a Belgian. The Belgian come in. I says, "What's this fellow want?" He says, "He wants you to pop two every time he comes in the room." And I says, "I don't pop two for any German soldier. He should pop two for me. I'm an officer of the American Air Corps." And he told this to the German. The German went crazy. But I wouldn't pop two. Well, we were there for 3 days. And boy, you could see the bites that I got from the bed bugs. So anyhow, they took us down. We're going through a yard, and there's a big van. First of all, there was a big ditch dug. And I looked at the ditch. I says, "This is the end." But it wasn't. It was a big furniture van. I got into the furniture van, and there was 20 to 25 more Allied airmen in that.
And you're still under the control of the Gestapo.
Gestapo. Well, they took us to Brussels. And that's where they turned us over to the Luftwaffe. All the prisoners either went to the Luftwaffe or they went to the Wehrmacht.
Now the Luftwaffe were the German air people.
Right. So they took us over. And I was, they put us in like cages. You're not supposed to talk. But there's chicken wire up above, chicken wire on the wall. So you start talking to different people. And where are you from? Connecticut. "Oh yeah, I'm from the Bronx." This little second lieutenant, Weinstein was his name, he was a bombardier. "How many missions were you on?" He says, "Missions? I never got there." He said, "We were shot down before we got there." So I said, "Well, we're on our 13th. My navigator was with me all the time after this. We went through prison camps and everything else.
It was your 13th mission. That's significant, isn't it?
Mission, yeah, 13. Although I don't feel that 13 is an unlucky number for me. I just pass it off as that's the way of life anyhow. So they took us from there down to outside of Frankfurt. But it was in the evening, so they backed us up into a shelter in a town about 20 miles away from Frankfurt, because Frankfurt would get clobbered every night by the RAF. Well, the next day they took us back through Frankfurt, and the people over the catwalks would spit on us and everything else as we were walking along the group. It took us to a place called Dulag Luft. That was where we got out of our civilian uniforms into our regular military uniforms and regular military shoes and everything else, and a laundry box with all your shaving stuff and everything else that the Red Cross had donated. From there we went to East Silesia, a town called Zagen. That was an officer camp. There was 3 compounds full of officers. One compound where the British were, and if you remember back then that so many British airmen were killed when they made a break, well, we were in the compound next to that compound, called the center compound. And there, somebody would have to vouch for you, so when we walked in, we had to sign our name, and then people would come up, other officers would come up, and he said, "Oh, I know this guy, he runs Hadfield Sports Shop."
And they'd accept that?
Well, he talked to me to make sure that he recognized me, because then he would ask me, about New Britain, Connecticut, and I would tell him. So, then we got put in what they call a combine. At that time, there was 12. Before we left the place, it was up to 18, 3 high. Cold, no heat. The Germans had no food. We were living on Red Cross parcels. When we first got there, it was a half a parcel for 2 men for a week. Then it went to 4 men to a parcel for a week. Then it went to nothing. And then in January, 29th, when the Russians got close in 1945, they evacuated that camp, and there was 50,000 airmen on the road with German guards that were probably 70 and 75 years old that didn't have any food themselves. The first night, it was snowing, the first night we stopped at this town, and they put us up in a church and in a chapel where they held funerals and things like that. But we had to give our word that we wouldn't escape, and the powers that be, camp officers, colonels and generals that were in charge, they said, don't escape, it's too close to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started to walk. The next night we stopped in a big barn, and all night long we would go out and they would boil potatoes. This farm kept boiling potatoes for us. The fourth night we stopped at a fire brick factory, so we had nice heat. We were up above the kilns.
Did you get anything to eat,
in our
though?
shorts.
But did you get anything to eat?
Well, we had brought our cigarettes with us. And this German girl come up, cigarette, and everybody says, bread for cigarettes, bread for cigarettes. So she would go out and get a lot of bread and bring it in and give us that.
Swap it.
Germans didn't have anything. They didn't have anything to give.
Everybody was miserable.
Everybody was miserable. But on the way, whenever we were on the road and we stopped and it was near a farmhouse or something like that, the Germans would come out and ask if we wanted anything. And of course we brought our instant coffee, so we says, ice water. And they would run in and get hot water, bring it out, and we'd make a cup of coffee on the road. See? And then we finally ended up in Spremberg, Germany, on the march. And they said that they were going to take us by train to Moosburg. Now, Moosburg is just northwest of Munich, or München, they call it.
München.
And there's a story, but I won't tell it because it's filthy.
We better not do that. This is historical.
Yeah. So anyhow, whenever we were in the station or something like that, and the sirens would sound, the engineer would pull the whistle, and off we would go into the countryside because we didn't want to get attacked by our own bombers. We ended up in Moosburg after all being sick with dysentery and everything else. And we stayed there, and that's when all we got was bread, just bread, nothing else. When I was liberated, I was down to about 125 pounds.
Oh, my.
And well, you see some of those pictures, how thin I was. And then we stayed there, and one day, after we were liberated by Patton's army, I happened to be walking in another compound, and guess who I met?
Your navigator.
No, my navigator was with me all the time. Bruce Martin from Plainville.
Oh, my goodness.
The Martin family on
Yes,
East Broad
yes, of
Street,
course.
Howard Martin?
Yes.
I don't know if he's
Amazing?
alive today
Isn't
or not.
that amazing?
So anyhow, he says, Charlie Hadfield, you're supposed to be dead. I said, what are you talking about? My wife knows I'm alive. I get mail from her. He says, well, the report back in Plainville that you got shot down and got killed. I said, oh, here I am, Bruce. So when we left there, they flew us out. They had 25 prisoners of war, ex-prisoners of war, to a C-47. We went into Reims, France, and all the time, oh, come on, Charlie. See, the memory starts as, oh, what's his name? A friend of ours in Plainville here. Ralphie Zimmerman. He was trying to contact me. He thought I was going into Liège, and I flew into Reims instead. Every C-47, he would run up to it.
Wow.
You got a Lieutenant Hadfield on this plane? No Lieutenant Hadfield on this plane. So after the war, I come to find out, he worked for intelligence in London, and he kept bugging his major. What do you know about Lieutenant Hadfield? What do you know about Lieutenant Hadfield? Is he a prisoner or what? So he said, the major said to him, he says, look, just don't worry about Lieutenant Hadfield. That's all I can tell you. So when we got back to the States, just before my wife knew I was a prisoner of war. One of the Kyle twins walked into the store on Main Street and told my brother Royal, she said, "You're going to be hearing about Charlie very shortly." It was the next day my wife got the telegram saying that your husband is a prisoner of war in Germany. So the reason why the Kyle girl knew, I met the fiance of Ruth Kyle at the air base in England, and when he found out that I was from Plainville, he says, "Well, I'm going out with Ruth Kyle, and we're going to get married after this war." I haven't seen the fellow since. Haven't seen the fellow since.
So when did you actually get home, Charlie?
June 6th.
June 6th.
We arrived in the States
Isn't that amazing?
at Camp Miles Standish out in Massachusetts, and I called Margie. "Where the hell have you been for the last 3 days?" I said, "What are you talking about? I was on the ocean." She says, "Well, I got a telegram saying you're in the States, and I'm waiting for your call."
Charlie, if you look back over your experience in the military, what would be a short observation, how you think it affected you, or what you remember the most? What stands out in your mind?
Nothing, well, I guess I got a little short-tempered. Well, in there, from my experience as being a prisoner of war, you know, what do you call it? There's a special word for it. You get uptight very fast.
Stress?
Stress, yeah. There's another word of stress, though. Post-mortem stress, not post-mortem, post-something stress. They're treating a lot of us for that now today.
Even today.
Oh yeah, it's getting worse. It's getting worse now. They
Yeah.
find that it's getting worse with a lot of.
So you were left with a lasting effect of your POW. Well, thank you very much for coming and telling us about your experiences. That was certainly interesting.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Guest on our series of World War II memories is Everett Johnson. Everett had quite an escape, quite an adventure when his plane went down behind German lines. And Everett, if I've got that wrong, you're going to correct me because you were the guy that was there. So please tell us your story.
We were flying out of England in an airfield called Snetterton Heath, part of the 8th Air Force, which was numerous bomb groups in that particular area. And we had 25 missions to complete, and I would say that out of those 25 missions, maybe 1 out of 10 would complete those missions. They were so hazardous and dangerous.
You mean only one plane and 10 came back?
One crew out
Oh
of 10.
my goodness. Is this the plane that you flew some of your missions on? Can we see your picture with your crew
Yes.
there?
This is our crew.
And you're the
Our-
second from the right in that photograph,
Right.
right? Okay, in the back.
And most of these are different parts of the country. We have a few from New England, and the rest are from the South and California.
And the plane has a fresh name. What is it?
And the name of the plane that we flew on was the Iron Ass. And the plane that we were shot down with was the Mischief Maker 2. It was a replacement aircraft that we used because ours had been badly shot up prior to this particular mission.
Is that the picture you showed me of the great hole in its tail?
Right.
And the tail fin?
The fin was completely, had a good-sized hole that you could almost walk through, and the vertical stabilizer.
Okay, in the picture. You can put that one down. And who's the handsome man in the uniform there? Let me take your big picture for you. That's it.
This portrait was taken of me back in '43. It was taken in Amarillo, Texas, at an aircraft mechanics school. At that particular time, my age was 20 years old.
Oh, to be 20 again.
No.
That's great. So, all right, we're going off on a replacement aircraft now on a mission.
All right. See, prior to this, we had, before we shot down, we had put in about 13 missions. And we were, at this particular mission, we were looking forward, if we returned, we would go on we would be going on a rest camp, you know, for a rest,
break.
because we had finished half of our missions. and we were looking forward to it. And this mission was when we were going deep into enemy territory. It was the first daylight raid of Berlin.
Oh my, one of the biggies.
Right. Next to Schweinfurt and Nuremberg and the Peenemünde area. The Peenemünde area was an area where the V-1, V-2 rockets were being developed. And those were heavily fortified with anti-aircraft. And the 8th Air Force was making their first run on Berlin. That was back in March 4th, 1944. That was the very first daylight raid by the 8th Air Force of Berlin, Germany. That was the headquarters of the Nazi regime and, you might say, the home of Hitler. So we were anxious to go on that, and we were fearful of it because we were going into using a war-weary aircraft who was well worn out and shot up, called the Mischief Maker 2, but we had to use whatever was available at the time.
So she was kind of patched up.
It was kind of worn out, patched up, doctored up, so it wasn't really in good condition. But you have to take and improvise with whatever they give you at this particular time. So at any rate, we left on that mission, and when we took off, it was very foggy, and the weather was terrible. It looked like it was going to snow any minute, and there was a great deal of cloud cover. So it wasn't an ideal flying weather to go on this mission.
But did you often take off in weather like that? I mean, you went anyway,
Many
right?
times we did, and as we got up into higher altitude, above 10,000 feet, sometimes the cloud cover would improve, and other times it wouldn't. So you'd make several runs over the particular target, and then if it wasn't a good sight by the bombardier, usually we had a head bombardier that was led by either a general or some high-ranking Air Force officer. He was the lead bombardier, and his orders were if he couldn't get a good view of bombing, a lot of times the mission was scrubbed, and we returned to our base. So we were still placed on alert. While we were on alert, you just stayed at the barracks glued, because any minute they would call you back out again, because you may go back out sometime
If the weather changed.
later in the day. So we did that. So on this particular mission, March 4th, they had decided that it would be scrubbed. So we had to return. So we were given orders to return, and in so doing, we got deep into Belgium when we were on our flight, and our pilot was having trouble with the aircraft. And besides that, enemy aircraft, we spotted enemy aircraft on all sides of us. Me-109s and Focke-Wulf 190s were circling around us because they knew we were in trouble.
You're coming in for the kill.
Right. So they knew we were weakened by something. Our engines were, one of them was smoking and one of them was on fire. And the pilot was having trouble with the turbocharger.
And did we say this was a B-17?
This was a B-17. Mostly we flew out of B-17, the heavy bombers, the Flying Fortress. And so he had trouble turning the plane back. See, most of the planes were heading back home to the base, but our pilot could not make any good effort to turn. The plane would not turn. So we had no other alternative but to bail out. So he gave the orders to bail out, and
this is over Belgium.
this was the first time we had never bailed out before, and we had fighters all around us.
Scary.
And on us, and flak was also in the area. So he gave us the order to bail out, and evidently the officers seemed to have gone first. He set the plane on automatic pilot, which was good of him to do. He was an experienced pilot, and I give him credit for that. He put the ship on automatic pilot, and most of the enlisted men had gone down a little bit later, I'd say 15, 20 minutes later, because our intercom was out. We had no intercom, and we had no way of communicating.
So you would have been widely spaced when you landed. You wouldn't have been near each other.
No, we did not. We were sort of spaced with one another. The officers had landed prior to let's say a good 15, 20 minutes before we did. So most of the enlisted men landed in the same area, and we landed. Fortunately, we landed in a Wehrmacht camp, which is a German infantry outfit. There's a German infantry garrison.
And what was good about that?
So the best part about that was you were fortunate because they treated you a little bit better. In other words, when you got captured, they treated you better than the German civilians would have.
Oh, I see.
The German civilians, we were not very popular with them. They called us war Luftgangsters, terrorists, because a lot of times, some of our missions, they weren't always on target. We did not do it deliberately, but sometimes the bombs would go straight, and they would hit civilian population, hit farmhouses.
But look what they were doing to London.
We didn't want to do that. We made every effort not to do this, because if you fell into the hands of the German population citizens, a lot of times some of them were shot, and some were made, I don't know, I'm looking for the right word, but anywhere, and they were mocked and brought through the streets and villages and spit upon and thrown stones at them because, what we had done to them.
Yeah.
And some,
So you came down right in a camp.
Kicked them. We landed right in an Wehrmacht infantry garrison. So we were picked up immediately. When I hit the ground, I had hit so hard. It was a very windy, snowy day. It was snowing very hard, and the ground was hard. And when I hit, I was left unconscious, and I was dragged quite a large distance. Oh, I would say about the length of a football field.
It must have been pretty bruising.
I was entangled in the lines of my shroud lines of my shoe. So one of the ball turret gunners, he landed nearby, and he tried to assist me, but he was immediately captured by the German guards, and he was put in a jeep. So then when they picked me up, they put me in the jeep, and all I could smell, it seemed like they must have doused me with ammonia.
Oh, to bring you to.
It seemed all my clothing was all saturated with ammonia because I was out like a light.
Did you have anything broken?
I had my ankle was twisted and sprained.
And probably bruised from being dragged.
I had a lot of facial lacerations and broken teeth in my mouth, and a severe headache, like.
I would think.
But,
I would think to say the least.
I was hobbling along, and they put me in a jeep because I couldn't walk too good. Because I didn't see. We had no training in landing and parachute training.
Because you weren't paratroopers.
And no.
You were supposed to stay in the airplane.
Right, and we had. I had when I was there. Excuse me. He stripped me of all my clothes, and I had a .45 caliber on my shoulder caliber, on my shoulder harness, and he took that away from me, and I had a escape kit, and he took that away from me. And then he brought me into headquarters and interviewed me with a German officer, and he was very vocal and very threatening. He didn't give me any physical harm, but he was very outspoken in German, very loud.
Now, could you understand him?
And I couldn't understand him. But he had an interpreter, a younger man, an interpreter that had lived in the United States back in the 30s, and he knew some English. Well, anyway, he interrogated me, and he tried to get information out of me. He wanted to know what bomb group I was with, and he wanted to know what our target was, what our mission was. And all I told him, my answers were, I gave him my name, rank, and serial number. I told my name, my rank, and serial number, and I said, that's all I can give you. And he got very belligerent and very vocal. And
but they didn't abuse you physically?
No. He slammed the table, and I remember I had a prayer book in my, he searched me, I had a prayer book in my pocket, and he took it out, and he looked at it, and he threw it down on the floor. He slammed it on the floor, and he took the door, and he slammed it slammed the door, and he went out to another room, and I said, gee, I wonder what he's going to do now. He came back in about 10 more minutes, and he threatened me some more verbally. And the first question he asked me was, when is D-Day? And I says, I don't know. And then he says, well, you got to give me more information than that. And I says, then I repeated again my name, rank, and serial number. And he got tired of that after a while. So he left me alone, and then he took away my belt and my shoes.
Well, did they give you some clothes to wear?
He gave me some clothes, and he gave me some civilian clothes. And then I went into another room, and there was my 3 others, my crewmen. They were enlisted men. They were in the other room, and they had just been captured too, and gone through what I had just gone through. And they were all looking at me in astonishment because I was so badly beaten up. It seemed like I was in a prize fight, because I was bruised and, kind of battered up. And I wanted to know what happened, whether I got beaten, because they looked in pretty good shape. So anyway, after that, we stayed for a while, and they took us out, and they took the 4 of us out, and they took us by train to a small town in Waterloo, which is a suburb of Brussels, Belgium. And they took us to a St. Giles prison. It was a big old prison that was used for, civilians. And they brought us in there, and we stayed in a cell. There was a very bleak prison. There was nothing in it, just one small little window, and one little square hole in the door, in the bars. And they gave us sort of like a straw to sleep on, and they had just one small little urinal in there.
And that was for how many guys?
We were 4 guys in there. 3 guys. 2 guys beside myself. We stayed in there. We stayed in there about 10 days, and we were just given pieces of bread to eat, and once in a while they gave us a little bit of soup. So we didn't get much to eat in there. Fortunately, it was good for me because it gave me the opportunity to rest my leg, because if we had to do any marching, I don't think I could have marched with the injury that I had. So I had rested my ankle, and then after 10 days, they took us to, by train, they gave us, well, first of all, they deloused us.
After being in the prison?
Right, and after being in there for about 10 days, a week and a half, they deloused us, and told us that we would be going by boxcar to Frankfurt on the Main, what they call Dulag Luft. That was a big transit camp where all the Air Force personnel went when they got captured for further interrogation, and your records were made out. This is where the original record of when I went to Dulag Luft. This record was made out by the officers in that area, and they gave us a physical and gave us some more clothing. Most of it was Royal Air Force clothing, odds and ends, something that wouldn't fit, that was way too big for you, but they took all our good clothing away, all our sheep-lined Air Force clothing, A2 jackets. They confiscated all that. Anything that belonged to the military, they confiscated that. If you had a watch that was military, they took that away. So this record followed us through all the camps.
And now, how did you happen to bring that home with you? Because I know POWs didn't bring much home. Tell us that story.
In my final camp at Moosburg, Stalag 7A, this was located down in the southern part of Austria. It's beautiful country, beautiful farm country. There was a large camp, and when we were liberated by the Third Army, General Patton's group, one of the best, happiest moments of my life when their Third Army came through and tore down the fences, and we were able to put the American flag and take down the swastika and put our flag up, and we tore down the barriers, tore down all their towers and fences, and we went into the town of Mooseburg. And some of the fellows went into POWs, went into the German offices, the Nazi offices, and confiscated and dumped out all their material, and there was big piles of their records. So we all went rummaging through this big pile looking for our file, and luckily I found mine. But
I think that's amazing.
I didn't find my snapshot, but I found the original record.
So that followed you from camp to camp.
Right.
And you've had it for 50 years.
50 years now.
That's amazing.
So I think a few others may have them along throughout the country.
I think we skipped the big march that you were on, 87 miles.
Yes.
Is that what you told me? You have a map there of it.
I do, if I can backtrack a little bit. When we left Dulag Luft, we were sent by boxcar to a camp in East Prussia. It's located up on the Baltic area near the port of Memel. It's a very picturesque place. It's scenic, farm, very isolated area, and originally housed maybe several thousand, but it was never meant to house as many prisoners as it did. There was Canadian prisoners, Air Force prisoners, Russian prisoners, all compounds located in this area, Stalag Luft 6. And I'll jump a little bit ahead of my story. We stayed there for my biggest portion of my POWs area the time was spent there. And then the Russians were coming closer and closer to us, and we had to evacuate that area. So they took us from that area by boat. It was a very treacherous boat. It was one of the most fearful rides I ever had in my life, because we were in this old freighter packed in like slaves, and it was very hot and humid, and we were packed in like sardines, and we were moved by this boat in and around the Baltic area, which was heavily infested with mines. So they took us it took about several days, and we got off that point, and we were heading towards Stalag Luft 4. That's near Kiefeld, Germany. And from that point, we stayed there for a while, and then we were being trapped by the British and American forces. They were being circled, so we had to move on out of that area, and which was done by foot. It was an 86-day march. It was one of the toughest marches in Germany that we had. It was often referred to as the Black March or the Black Death March, and we were on this route. I have a map of it. It was for 86 days, and it was starvation and frostbite, and we slept in barns.
And what was the weather at that time?
At that time, it was cold, winter weather.
Oh, it was winter.
And we were being guarded by the German Hitler Youth and German Shepherd dogs. And if you fell out of line, they would put these German Shepherd dogs on you, and they would take bites out of you, out of your legs. And then the German guards, which most of the German guards at that time, they were short of manpower, and they were using men as guards in their 70s for guarding us. And a lot of the men that were on the Russian front, they were finally discharged, but they were using them as guards. And they were guarding us, but just the same, the Hitler Youth kept us going at a strong pace, and we couldn't, a lot of us got sick from dysentery along the way. We had no food, no medication.
And how was your foot or ankle holding up
At that
point?
time, my ankle was pretty good condition. Fortunately, most of us, like I said before, most of us were just out of high school, and we were in good shape.
Tough kids.
We could take it. We were in the prime of our life, and we were fortunate to stay in good physical condition. So we stayed on this march for 86 days, and it was a very frightening experience.
Do you have any idea of what you covered mile-wise?
I would say, like I say, in mileage, it was a good, maybe at least 200 miles, because it seemed like we were traveling in circles. I won't go into detail.
Yeah.
We stopped at a lot of different towns along the way, a lot of farm villages where we were mocked by and spit upon by the civilians, and we were made fun of, and we finally wound up in the Stalag 7A in Mooseburg. So that was the turning point where we got liberated.
A happy day.
So it was a very happy day of my life at that particular moment.
Everett, if you had to look back over your experience, and that's certainly some experience, 50 years has gone by, what stays in your mind or what impresses you the most about what happened to you back in World War II?
I would say that it certainly is the price of freedom is very hard to find, and it's worth fighting for. It was a very costly experience throughout the whole war, even as a POW. It's something that I hope never exists. I hope the word ex-POW never exists again, because I hope that we can settle our differences without war, and that there will be peace. You know, there's nothing that can replace the freedom that we have in our country. And I would do it again if I had to fight.
No bitterness.
No bitterness. It's certainly worth the effort to fight for the freedom that we have in this country.
Thank